You know, I understand that the perspective and the unique selling point of, well, we can say the United Nations, we can say the different branches of the United Nations is this nice feeling of peace. Oh, it's for world peace. Oh, it's for coexisting and all these things. But it is so dangerous. The Messiah says in the words, "I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. I've come to separate mother from daughter, father from son, this and the other." But it wasn't the Messiah just doing that because he wants to separate people. No, it's separating by the truth. The truth, what it does is it separates people because some people are going to agree and some people are going to disagree likewise. So in America, we have the example of people not knowing what a woman is anymore. I saw that one guy, he was going around asking people
Matt
literally
Walsh,
with the mic.
Matt Walsh, Matt Walsh.
Exactly, yeah. And he was asking them, "What is a woman?" And nobody could give him a straight answer. They would go all around the world just to come back to the same, like, actual point, what a woman actually is. Even then, right? So we have that example in the US. We have the example of abortion rights in the US as well. Roe versus Wade, all of those pivotal cases recently. We have the example of liberalism versus conservatism, right? So if I agree to all of these things, most definitely I'm going to have to put this away.
Hello, everyone. Permit me to apologize for the much needed break away from the social media space, as life requires practical housekeeping matters away from the conceptual world of ideas. I am pleased to be back, continuing the journey from strength to strength as we wrestle with objective truth of existence. With us today is Mr. Lester Rhoden II, also known as LJ among his peers. He was born in London, England. He is a son, he is a brother, and with his background in theological studies and his passion for truth of the scriptures led him to pursue preaching and teaching of the word, the logos, if you will. He is also an entrepreneur, interestingly so. We connected via a mutual friend who finds similarities in the way we pursue, desire, and think about the truth. So, with that said, I would like to welcome Mr. Lester Rodin. Okay, so tell me, what are your thoughts on the idea of the one world government?
Um, I said there's two thoughts on that, right? There'll be one will come from a religious perspective, and the other mostly from like a secular, right? So we understand according to the Holy Scriptures that everybody in the world they're gonna acclaim to this one thing, this one world government, because of unity. For the sake of unity and getting along, for the sake of peace, everybody's going to love this thing called one world government. That will be the sort of secular perspective. Everybody's going to be taken care of in regards to FEMA camps, in regards to rations, in regards to food, clothing, shelter. Everyone's going to be the same. But when it comes to the Holy Scriptures, we understand that this one world government, nothing good can really come from it. Because even from that, you'd have to start to um, diminish your own beliefs if you're
Mm,
claiming to this one world government. You'd have to coexist with someone who's, let's say, a follower of Islam.
mm.
We understand we don't have the same beliefs as a Muslim would. So if we're claiming to this one world religion, right? So sorry, one world government, whatever it may be, because they do coincide the same way,
Yes,
we'd have
yes.
to pick up other doctrines, other beliefs, some of these things, and we understand that this itself is not good according to all the scriptures.
All right, great, wonderful. But let me take you back to the secular point of view. What
Mm.
instinct would you think persons would have, or what you part of human nature? Because the globalists they're very intelligent people, so they know exactly how, like my guy Yuval said, they have hacked human beings and they know how human beings work. So I'm investigating what instincts that the whole world or majority of the globe will be operating under so that they accept the circular point of view of globalization? What inside of me as a human being would want to accept this without even thinking about it? Because you mentioned the fact that a world peace, number one, food for
Yep.
everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody will be living in some sense in some form of a utopian society. We are going to alleviate suffering. So, what part of me as an individual would want to, so to speak, give up my suffering, give up my responsibility, so that the state and the other powers that be would take care of me? And that's how I'm thinking about it.
Mm. Um, there's a key theology and sort of ideology that goes around most like satanic groups and even people who don't really acclaim to Satanism. You've got bankers, lawyers, accountants, whatever it may be. They believe in this thing called order out of chaos. Order out of chaos. Now, I believe strongly, 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 my bro. Very soon, there's going to be the next big event. The next big event, whether it be war, whether it be outbreak, whether it be civil wars in certain countries.
But it's already
Just
started. It's already started. Watch Russia,
exactly,
watch Ukraine, watch
exactly,
COVID-19, and it's a cyclical thing.
exactly.
Without cutting you short,
Yeah,
before World War II or World War One, if I could remember clearly, there was that plague, there was disease, there were
mm,
famine, there were all those things. It's almost like we're building, we're reliving history altogether, and we haven't learned from the patterns of history that world disease comes first, or famine, or war, and then famine. And it's all to build a new system. It's all to
exactly.
build something new. Just like the idea of the fourth industrialized revolution that I'm reading from Carl Schwab right now. But you can continue.
Yes. So, even then, like the main point that I was saying is that order out of chaos. We find that all of these things are happening around the world right now. Even this morning, right? I looked on the BBC because I like to keep up with like world affairs, right? And a notification came on my phone to say that I believe it's Xi Jinping.
Mhm.
He's now got another term in office in China, and all of these things they're sort of smaller cogs to the wider machine of the Book of Revelation, which we see that we're even living in as of right now. So I'd say, why would somebody give themselves over to the system? Because chaos is going to ensue, and they're going to come together. These, again, global elites are going to come together and say, okay, we are the saviors for you guys. Right now, this famine, we have food. We own all of these major global industries,
And
so
that's
we can
exactly what
provide
they're
for
doing.
you.
They're buying up the farmlands. That's exactly what they're
Exactly,
doing.
exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. Now, I'm not too sure about like you've got like the smaller Caribbean countries, right? But I know for a fact they're doing that in the UK. I know for a fact they're doing that in the US. You see what I'm saying? So they own literally everything. And watch this. If I own every single thing about you, I own you. You see what I'm saying? So that's why somebody would therefore give up their privacy rights. That's why somebody would willfully do these sorts of things. When I look in the Holy Scriptures, I see that the mark of the beast isn't going to be forced upon somebody. I'll tell you why. Because you cannot force worship. Worship has to be willful. In order for worship to be genuine, it has to be willful. It has to be that willful giving up of themselves. So people are going to look at their children and see that they haven't got food to provide for their children. They go to look at their husbands and wives and saying, maybe I can't provide for you. I therefore need to go and give up my life, my very salvation itself, in order to sort of do these things.
And that's the same thing that happened in Germany. No,
Mm,
Stalin, the time of Stalin. You understood what happened in Stalin. The situation was what you spoke about China, Xi Jinping, the Communist Party, and as the same idea that Stalin was hooked by, because like Carl Jung said, people don't have ideas. Ideas have people. So he was hooked by that utopian idea of cutting the classes and making everyone equal, so to speak. So what happened in that time was and that same instinct that I'm trying to get at, that same instinct that I'm trying to have persons to look at. You look back at yourself when you realize Why would I want to give up my responsibility as an individual? Because that's what you're doing when you give up yourself to the system, when you give up yourself to the one world government, when you allow persons to make decisions about your own salvation for you. And that's the idea about killing free will. In order for this utopian society to work, we need a mass of people, or the globalists would need a mass of people who do not or does not operate or does not believe in free will. So if the responsibility is on me for me to, so to speak, provide for my family, provide for myself, realize that there is an objective mode of being in the world, and what I did or what I didn't do is contributing to my own suffering. That's actually painful to the individual. That's actually painful to the psyche. So what I would do, so to speak, and you would see, and that's partly why majority of our civilization or majority of our governments are liberally led. And this means that they're saying that, okay, there's nothing I can do that could assist me. There's nothing I could do that could make my life in any way better. So I have to now give up my responsibility to the government so that the government would take care of me. And I read something akin to that in Carl Schwab's his recent book, The Great Reset, where he said the return of big government. And if you understand what communism means, communism is basically saying the government is in charge of every means of production. And the people, no matter what you have, no matter what industry you may be part of, it's government driven. So you have a big government, right? And that goes against the free market instinct, and the free market instinct, the capitalist instinct, so to speak. Even when I agree that capitalism has some things that we need to adjust, I don't believe we have to kill the instinct or the spirit that comes with capitalism. The spirit of free enterprise, the spirit of individual responsibility to make those necessary sacrifices in the current moment, the hedonistic sacrifices in the current moment, at the attainment of a future aim. We don't want that. We don't want to sacrifice, and that's the instinct I'm looking at. We don't want to sacrifice our hedonistic pleasures, because human beings live on free wills. We have the will to pleasure survival, the will to power, and the will to meaning. But the vast majority of us, because of the comfort that has been bestowed onto us by the machine of capitalism, we want to hold on to that pleasure principle. We want to hold on to live into the lower basic needs of human beings. We don't want to sacrifice it. But what we're saying to ourselves is that if we sacrifice those bodily functions, and that's what the message of Christ is asking us. He's asking us to die on the cross, so to speak, to live for something higher and higher attainment, to have meaning in life, to pursue meaning regardless. But we don't want that. We want to hold on to the bodily pleasures. We want to hold on to the ephemeral aspect of happiness, living for myself, living in the moment. And because of that instinct, the globalists understand what's happening, and they're taking advantage of that. I listened to Yuval spoke recently, and that was spot on what he said. He said that there is the problem with our humanity in the 21st century is that we are meaningless, we are bored, and he is capitalizing. He actually said he's capitalizing on the fact that human beings are living meaningless lives. So he's taking advantage of it's like there is a sickness in humanity, there is a cancer, and somebody is taking advantage of it for his own benefit, because he's liberal to the core. He doesn't believe in God. He doesn't believe in the Bible. So he's using the meaninglessness of our current affairs to destroy the Bible altogether, to destroy the belief in God altogether, to destroy the culture that comes with that. And that's something that persons need to take into account, especially on a regional, small island level, especially on the global level. We need to become more aware of why are we doing what we're doing? Why are the governments behaving the way they do? And I don't think the young persons are interested in understanding those things.
Even then, a point to make, right? Once that sort of once that level of awareness is attained in a person in regards to their own government, in regards to their own peoples, don't you think that all of that highlights back to this book? the Holy Bible.
Very much
Because
so.
if I see that Klaus Schwab is doing all of these things moving forward with the World Economic Forum, I'm gonna see that it's literally prophecy itself being played out to the acute level. And all it's gonna do is highlight to me to say, wow, the book of Revelation is actually real.
That's my journey right now. You're saying that that's my
Yeah.
journey right now. I'm saying, oh
Mm,
my God, like because I'm not the born in the fifth kind of person.
yeah.
You know, because
Yeah.
of what's happening around, and I had a keen sense of looking at behaviors and human behaviors and things of that sort and trying to figure out, but hey, what am I doing? But then I
Mm,
realized that exactly what is happening outside of the book is exactly
mm,
what the book is describing. I'm like, oh wow,
yeah.
that's something to pay attention to. That's really my story. Like
Yeah.
because I understand it genuinely. Like, hey, that's what's happening, and certain predictions that is made. And I'm God bless that I have certain persons speaking to one and trying to understand this thing. And I'm like, oh my God, like this thing is really happening outside the book, but it's written in the book for the longest while. So the book must have some substance of truth. Must that's obvious.
Exactly.
It's really happening right before our eyes. I don't think we should get rid of it.
Mm, not at all. Not at all. I completely agree. Mm.
So, what do you believe that that this will affect our culture and our belief, like the one world government? Because and like you said correctly, and I would agree to that statement that one world government will have a combination. It will one will everything will come together, and if certain beliefs goes against what you as an individual or organization believe, it might be problematic because you have to not only coexist, but you have to accept certain things. And I think that's what we're seeing in the US with the biggest discrepancy between liberal and the conservative at this point, where everything is left to question on the part of the liberal part. The liberals don't even believe in women anymore. They don't believe
Yeah.
in a lot of those things anymore. And those things are very scary to watch. So you as an individual, you must not only not believe in what a woman is, you must accept that there is no definition for a woman. And only the government can give you a definition. And only the government can switch the definition when it suits them. So I'm saying, do you think that this will affect our culture as a people and our belief system? And how much of your belief system are you or any other person is looking to sacrifice to attain peace on earth, if that's ever possible?
Right. Yeah. So I'd say that it will only affect us if we agree to it. Now, people who are believers, and not, when we say Christian, I don't even really like to use the term Christian, to be honest with you, because it's so broad. There's various different belief systems in Christianity itself. So which one is the right one? You know. So I like to use the term child of God. So those who are children of God, right? They have a choice to make. It's either you agree and you sort of subdue yourself to that coming system, or you disagree and you are shunned from society. Now, when you're shunned from society, right, you don't have to worry about them affecting your culture or anything because you're going to be living a life according to Holy Scriptures. It's going to be hard. You're going to be persecuted. Many of us are going to be killed. But the point being is that you're living a holy life in the sight of God Almighty. Now, if you agree to it, and if you say, you know, for the sake of my children eating food, for the sake of them getting some rations, for the sake of me going to a FEMA camp and this and the other, for the sake of peace, I'm just going to go and fully agree. Now that is such a dangerous thing. You know, I understand that the perspective and the unique selling point of, well, we can say the United Nations, we can say the different branches of the United Nations is this nice feeling of peace. Oh, it's for world peace. Oh, it's for coexisting and all these things. But it is so dangerous. The Messiah says in the words, "I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. I've come to separate mother from daughter, father from son, this and the other. But it wasn't the Messiah just doing that because he wants to separate people. No, it's separating by the truth. The truth, what it does is it separates people because some people are going to agree and some people are going to disagree likewise. So in America, we have the example of people not knowing what a woman is anymore. I saw that that one guy, he was going around asking people
Matt
literally
Walsh,
with a mic.
Matt Walsh, Matt Walsh.
Exactly, yeah. And he was asking them, what is a woman? And nobody could give him a straight answer. They would go all around the world just to come back to the same, like, actual point, what a woman actually is. Even then, right? So we have that example in the US. We have the example of abortion rights in the US as well. Roe versus Wade, all of those pivotal cases recently. We have the example of liberalism versus conservatism, right? So if I agree to all of these things, most definitely I'm going to have to put this away.
But it's very much so. And that's the whole play. That's the whole strategy. And you need to understand it from, when I think about it, I broaden my perspective to try to get a handle on what's happening. So I go as far back as watching humanity, right? As far back as watching humanity and the different stages and the different ages of humanity. We have the Middle Age that started between I think the 453, 456 BC to probably the 11th century. There. The Middle Age, they actually call it the medieval age or the dark ages, right? Basically, what I conceptualize that age as is the age of humanity, the collective, as a small baby growing up as a small baby, the dark ages. And because of the letting go of the Roman system, that's when the Roman Empire fell. The Roman Empire fell around that time. So there was no central authority to unify the people or to regulate the behavior of the people. So then the Catholic Church took up that role. So what happened when the Catholic Church took up that role is like the Holy Book, the Bible, everything that was against the state, the laws of the state, the criminal laws, the laws of the state, it was akin to the Bible. If you break the law of the state, you break the law of the Bible. It's almost like you couldn't separate the church on the state altogether. And it was ruled by the Catholic Church. So that fell down because I mean, the instinct of the human instinct for malevolence and power took over and forgot the Bible and brought in their own interpretation. So it came across to a level of subjectivity that we as human beings, we don't like. We love, on a deeper level, we love objectivity. But because of the snake that's within our hearts, we tend to practice subjectivity to gain power over persons. So that fell. And that came with the rise or the rise of the Renaissance. The Renaissance moved from the 14th century up to the 16th century, thereabout. The Renaissance was the age of enlightenment, the age of rationality, the age of reason. And that age went a little away from the Bible. I think that's where we had the separation of church and state. I can't remember clearly, but it wasn't the state laws or the state itself wasn't governed directly by the church. There was something, I think that was the development of common law at that time where you have to look at the individual situation. It's not what the overall canon Bible law was about. But then after that ended, we moved into the modern age. The modern age went a little away, pushed a little away from the book. Again, the book was being pushed a little further as humanity developed. So, like a baby, you're dependent on your father, so to speak, God, for everything. You grow up to a child, you push your father aside. You grow up to a teenager where modernism is, you let go more of your parents. But where we are right now is the age of postmodernism. I don't know if you understand the age of postmodernism. We have built a society, or we're trying to build a society that is not dependent on the Father, God, or the book at all. So that's why we have a society that is subjective. That's why we have a society where whatever you believe in your mind is your truth. You hear a person saying, it's my truth. It's not the collective truth. It's what I think is true is true. If I'm born a woman and I want to be a man, the minute I believe that, that is true. So there's no objective truth in our society. And because of that lack of objective truth, and the same thing that you said earlier, we're going to create a situation order out of chaos. So there will be a lot of chaos because if nothing is true, and I could create my truth, I could say what is true, and me and 7 billion other persons can create the truth. There is no regulation of human behavior, and it's only going to be catastrophe after catastrophe. But then, who's going to be the savior of the world? It's not going to be the Bible.
Mm,
It's not going to be God. They're going back to making man God. And you can go back as far, you can reason as far back and say it's the government. We can even say it's the Pope, so to speak.
mm. Even then, a very good point to make, right? When I look at uh, just Christendom in general, we even have a lot of that in the sense of because I'm saved, I can sort of do whatever I want to do. Jesus saved me. I'm under grace. I can do whatever I want to do. So it's not just in the world. It's not just coming from a secular perspective, but it's in major denominations of Christendom, even today. In the sense of like people no longer have the Holy Scriptures as their foundation. We're talking Genesis to Revelation, the canonical Bible or the Deuteronomy canonical Bible as well in there as well. People no longer have this as their foundation to say, okay, anything that I have in my life which I'm going through to go back to that as a reference. This is the only stable thing, the only stable thing in society right now is the Holy Scriptures. Look at certain laws being passed in the US, right? If it goes to the Supreme Court, they have full right and reason to go and change it. They're the Supreme Court, they're the highest court in the land. They have full right and reason to go and change it if something's been established from all the way back then. So the point being is that the only solid foundation that we have today is the word of the living God. And it's so beautiful, right? To see that everything's coming full circle. I've seen people, even in the UK, come out and say that that Bible thing that you're talking about is real. Because now, with the threats of war and all of these things, with the threats of famines and not being able to eat food and all these things, people are realizing and eyes are opening up. As you said before, you said that you're on that sort of journey, right? To say that like you weren't necessarily from the faith itself. And it's beautiful to see how I can say I was born in church. I was a church baby. And it's beautiful to see the sort of difference between us, but we're both at the same road. To say we're talking about the same exact thing. How pretty much messed up the world is right now.
And how could, and there is no rational, because I tend to sway a lot of what I say on rationality. And
Mm,
there is no rational, there's no rational point to the two of us trying to wrestle with objective truth and trying to get to a specific outcome, even taking into account our separate journeys, our separate way we come, and that's why I'm saying that's the beauty of objective truth. It doesn't matter, and that's the story of Jesus Christ. When I look at it on a narrative level, when he was born to a woman. Nobody knew at the time how that woman became pregnant because she was a virgin, and he was born inside of a manger. He was born among animals. And if anybody is born in a stable of cows or sheep or pigs, how would you look at that person? Like that person might not have a good life, so to speak. That person started off really rough, not even
mm,
born with midwives or anything, just his mother and somebody that's not even his father. And he looking at it in a narrative level, he showed you that by his actions, his belief in God, and that he rose up to one of the greatest men in history. And that's something to
Most
look take,
definitely.
to take into consideration. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter where you start. It doesn't matter who your parents were. None of that matters. Like my favorite author said, it doesn't matter what happens to me. All what matters is what I choose to become. And that's the beauty of free will that we need to protect. That's the beauty of free will that we need to let persons know that that is something that the most valuable, if that's the most valuable thing that a human being can have. And that's why I will ask you, why do you think the ability to believe is important for humanity? Why do you think that? Why do you think that's important? Because as a human being, that's what separates us from the animals.
Mm,
Our ability to firstly project our thoughts into the future, create something, come back and work towards it. Our level of consciousness to investigate existence altogether, to get to the end of our investigation of existence, and then believe that there is something that is out of our own grasp in our intellectual plane, in our own mental plane. So why do you think this skill or this attribute or this trait is important for us as human beings?
mhm. So, to answer that, I'll give you some context just to me in general, right? So, I go to a Russell Group University in the UK, and I study a theology and religious studies degree. It's quite deep. We really do like to go in depth in regards to religions and belief systems and all these sorts of things. You'll find that throughout the lectures, the seminars, all of this good stuff, one of the main points being shared is the reason why people believe just in general is because they need to have hope in something. In order to progress in life, in order to keep going every single day, they need to have that hope in tomorrow. They may not see tomorrow, they may not get there, but it's just the fact that tomorrow they're working towards it nevertheless. Again, people need to have some sort of belief in a higher power, or they have no hope at all. They're not going to be able to live life in freedom without that belief. Now, I've studied all the major religions: Islam, I'd say Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, all of these major religions, right? And I say this all the time to various people that I talk to. If Islam was the truth, I'd be a Muslim. If it was the truth, I'd be a Muslim. If Buddhism was the truth, I'll be a Buddhist. If Christianity was the truth, I would be a Christian. Because remember, I don't claim that title because it's so broad, it's so wide, it's very hard to sort of to describe what you are to a person. But the one truth in this world today is the Holy Scriptures, Genesis to Revelation. That's what I read. That's what I believe in. I believe in the Son of God, Yahshua Mashiach, the one we call in English Jesus Christ. That's my belief because I know that that is the truth without a shadow of a doubt. Watch. It's no longer a case of just being religious. It's no longer a case of just going to church and going through the motions on a normal Sabbath day. No. It's going through the motions of proving the Holy Scriptures and how it is true. A very good way of doing this, the book of Revelation, even as we're talking about in this conversation, the Klaus Schwab, the United Nations, the World Economic Forum, the Great Reset, how all of these things are coming to play and proving to the carnal man, to the Gentile, to whoever it may be, to a religious person, how it's not just me coming to church, paying tithe, this and the other, but it's believing in a true thing. So people have a belief in something because they understand that as a human being, they're not that great. They're small. They cannot create. So yeah, that
The problem we face in the 21st century as humanity is lack of meaning in life. This nihilism manifests itself in different ways. To maintain a civilization, more than half of the population must hold true to the fact that life has meaning. If not, the structure of our civilization will crumble. Join me as I try to wrestle with the idea of restoring meaning in life via a valuable aim. You can find my books on Amazon. The link is provided below. can the belief you hold be affected by your environment and and the effects of that environment? How can it influence, so to speak, your belief system? Because believing is like you mentioned, believing is very important for you for a human being. But at the same time, we need to take into consideration the aspect of nature versus nurture, your environment. And there's there's this Russian theorist that a psychologist is actually Yuri Bronfenbender. He spoke about the ecological system theory, and what he is saying that a human being, let's take into consideration a child. A child is born to two parents, whether or not the parents are directly involved in his or her life, whether the father is there, the mother is not there. But then again, the situation surrounding that child, let's say, so to speak, that both parents is in the child's life. The situation that is surrounding that child is directly influential from the situation that is affecting the parents. And the situation that is affecting the parents have to broaden out now the situation of the community. The community and what affects the community, the way of life of the community is the culture. What gives rise to culture is your belief. And what influences your belief is basically the order of the day, the law, where the law comes from. So it's almost like a layer of things that the individual must take into consideration when you speak about what I believe. And my question is that what is the influential capabilities, or how influential is the environment, what surrounds the individual when it comes to belief? And that's something we need to take into consideration on a global scale and going back down to our region, our community, our nation, our culture, and us as individuals when it comes to our belief. How influential is that environment in that grand scheme of things?
I'd say incredibly, incredibly influential. It would be quite naive of us to say that like it has no part to play. I'll give you a very good example, right? In the UK, there's quite a lot of people who are followers of Islam. We call them Muslims. And I speak to a lot of them and I ask them, why do you believe that God is Allah? Why do you believe that Muhammad is the prophet or messenger of Allah? Why do you believe that? And many times they say to me, I mean, because I was born in this. So we find that people have their beliefs because they're born in that place where the beliefs are held. If I was born in Saudi Arabia, I'm most likely going to have the beliefs of a Muslim person. If I was born in those countries there, I'm most likely going to have those beliefs. If my parents believed that Allah was God, I would most likely have initially had that belief system. But I'll tell you the difference. And this is where a lot of people are going wrong. You've been told something, so you simply just accept it. That's not correct. Now, I'm not telling anybody who may be listening to go and disrespect your parents, but try exactly what you're being told. If you find that what you're being told does not hold up, you need to sit your parents down and have a conversation with them. But the point being is that me with my own life, right? I came to a point where I was seeking the truth so much. I thought to myself, there are all the other world religions out there. Who says that this one's the right one? I was just like a Muslim child. I was born in the way of believing in the Bible. I was born in a westernized, Hellenized society which believed in this thing. So I thought to myself, hold on, maybe I'm living a lie. So what I then did is I tried it. I ripped it apart, not physically, but in the sense of analysis. Yeah. I every single doctrine we find in there, I tried it most definitely. And I made similarities to other religions. I made differences to other religions likewise. And the reason why I can say that confidently and say that this is the honest truth, this is the only truth, is because why? I've gone and tried it. Other religions, Islam, Buddhism, Mormonism, we understand we've got like the Church of the Latter-day Saints and all that stuff. I tried all of that stuff Not in a sense of I became, but I went and studied and I went and saw the origins and all these things. And this is the only thing, my bro, today which stands up. The same book from all the way back then up till now, it stands up. So I say it incredibly influences our society, our surroundings, our environment, incredibly influences where our beliefs initially come from. But it shouldn't just stop there. The person, the individual themselves should have their own personal conviction to say whether it's true or not. If it's not true, you need to go back to the drawing board and see what is.
Yeah, you mentioned the word Hellenization. Could you let's go down that path. You mentioned Hellenization. Our society has been Hellenized. What do you mean by those concoction of words?
So we understand even from the times of Yahshua Mashiach, the one we call Jesus Christ, right? This Hellenization was coming in a lot. With the various different religious leaders of the time, the Pharisees and Sadducees, they were being under control of I believe it was the Greeks who were coming in and bringing in their own culture, and pretty much buying people out, right? So we understand that the religion which the Almighty God established with Abraham all the way back then up to the time of the Messiah, it started to change around those times. So where people are no longer holding out onto the true and honest, the pure doctrines found in the book, but people are starting to shift it for their own means. You said before that even with the Roman Catholic Church, right, and with the analogy of a baby growing up, over time, what happens is that people push away the pure doctrines of the word and hold on to their own feelings and belief. Now we understand that this has steamrolled in recent years, steamrolled to where it's no longer just people switching out doctrines, but people taking out the doctrines of God and putting it in their own belief system. It's them moving forward with that spirit of Hellenization, changing what was originally there to suit their own means. Again, example of women not being women anymore. There's a fella called Andrew Tate.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether you love it, you hate him, he's that Marmite, right? That's an English saying. He's that Marmite. You love him or you hate him. But the point with Andrew Tate, right, is that for popularity, he would say a lot of brazen things. He would say a lot of outward things, right? But if you were to really sit down and really listen to what he's saying, I believe that he's not saying anything crazy in a sense. I'd say that what he's doing is that he's simply holding on to the Abrahamic way of what a family should be like.
Yeah, yeah.
Mother, a father, and children, in a sense. And people have such big qualms with this to the point where they banned him. Again, here we go with the censorship.
Censorship,
Right?
yeah, yeah. Control
Yeah.
words, you control people, control
Well,
people's mind.
you see what I'm saying?
Mm.
And you'll find that any sort of social influencer who followed after him or would speak things like him, they got banned as well. I think that's absolutely remarkable to say that he's simply holding on to his own beliefs, but because he doesn't acclaim to that sort of liberalistic idea or ideologies, he has to be silenced and put down. Whether you
And,
love or agree or hate his words, we have to understand that this cannot be right.
and one thing I find that is even more fascinating because I follow the Andrew Tate story and
Mm,
listening to his interviews he normally has with a group of women, I find that
mm,
a lot of the pushback about what Andrew Tate says comes a lot from the women. And I
mm,
could be wrong, but based on my observation, a lot of the pushback that he gets comes from women. So I have a theory about that. And you could see our society has been, and I don't know about your society and about the UK Prime Minister. She recently stepped down after 44 days and all of that. But I'm seeing a shift in how the construct or the structure of our patriarchal society, so to speak, work. So there is something happening that is very, very, very deep that we don't understand. And the fact it manifests itself in women pushing back on Andrew Tate's reasoning, and I'm not saying that I hold I hold to everything that he reasons. I think there's some things that he hasn't thought through well enough, or his articulation of certain things might give an idea that if you investigate it well enough, it might not be what he said, but who knows? But a lot of what is happening, I realize that the pushback towards a competent man is most definitely by women. So I'm asking myself, why are women pushing back on the competence of a man? And you would hear the argument, and there are fairly good arguments that I investigate all the time. Men are not taking up the responsibility. Men are not taking up the responsibility, so to speak. Because if you want to destroy the family, if you want to destroy the family, the first thing you are going to destroy
Exactly.
is the head, the male,
Most definitely.
the man. Anything that stands up to P, you will destroy that. And who are you going to use to destroy that? Wasn't it Eve that gave Adam the fruit? You are going to use the woman to destroy that. That's archetypical. That is like people don't understand those things. Those things are not even your ideas. The Bible already wrote about that 1,000 years. You are just living something that's beyond you. That's what archetypes are. It's a mode of behavior that goes across time, and it doesn't matter who you are, who you think you are, who you think you are. It happens on you, and that's what's happening in our society, and rightly so. The argument that men are not taking up the responsibility, so women must take up the responsibility for a man in the home, number one, in the religious sex, number two, and in the society. You find a lot of our society, a lot of our positions, not even positions of influence, or positions of competence, not influence, positions of influence, they are driven towards more female dominance. So, and I read this book, 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. And he was saying that if you make all games female games, it's almost impossible for men to be involved in that. And when I read that as a teacher at a school, of physical education teacher, I tried that. I went to the school and I set up a bunch of games, right? And I set up female games and I set up male games. But the games I called female games were football, things the males like to play. They love to play football. They love to play those contact sports and whatnot. And I coined it as female games. Like the female games today is football. 90% of the males didn't play that game because it was coined naturally. Because it was coined that they didn't play that game. So if you're going to make all of the patriarchal systems as female games, what do you expect the males to do? You want them to go and play, and there's a reasoning behind that, right? If you want to, if you fight it, if a male and a female is fighting, if the female beats the male, he will be reprimanded because he will be laughed at because a woman can beat you. But if he beats a woman, he will still be reprimanded. It's just a girl at it. Why are you going to beat her that way? So there's no way. It's
a lose-lose.
It's a lose-lose situation. So if you make all games, all positions, you feminize, you are going to get rid of the patriarchal system, so to speak, which is grounded in the belief of God the Father, and you are going to make a matriarchal system. You are going to invert the hierarchy. You are going to move what's highest towards human being, and you are going to bring it towards lower. And that's where I am going to say, what have you underlined that the belief of the global leaders, the WEF, the one world religion, what belief are they propagating? What have you seen based on your analysis? What do you think that they believe in all the agenda? The climate change, the save the environment. What belief is perpetuating these things?
Now, I love the word that you use, right? Agenda. There are various different things which are happening in the world today, which all play a part to this one goal that they have of everybody being equal, everybody owning nothing, and us being happy about it. I believe that was a quote by Klaus Schwab himself, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yes, So you'll find that just by climate change alone, they can't bring this about. There has to be climate change plus equality between the sexes plus sorting out famines and all these things. There's so many agendas working in tandem with each other to bring this about. So I say that their beliefs aren't limited to one thing. According to scripture, people take the truth of God and turn it into a lie all the time. And I believe they're doing the exact same thing. They see the family structure, they're ripping that to shreds and making something false out of it to say that the woman doesn't need a man, to say that the woman this and the other, she can be the man and all that stuff. They're taking the truth and they're ripping it to shreds to do what? To then make their own society. And that's literally the point, my bro.
Yeah.
Um, they're taking what's already been established from the very creation of existence itself, and they're ripping that to shreds to then make their own society, their own creation. Again, what they want to do is to be like God.
Spot on. And that's one of the things that I've risen as well. So look at it this way, right? If if we understand the belief in God for what it is and not what it's watered down to, like you said, by Hellenization, and I think a lot of us is being driven by the influence of Hellenization. But if we take our time and we look at what the belief in the Most High God, the Most High Jah, is supposed to do for you, well, it's supposed to move you from Egypt to Jerusalem, so to speak. It's supposed to move you from that. It's supposed to move you from the whole. If you have a society, and if I think about it, the thought process, if I'm going to build a society, if I get at least 1,000 persons to build a society, there are different different positions in the society that needs to be filled by the human being, right? Think about it that way. And let's say you have the teacher, you have the lawyer, you have the garbage man, you have the farmer. The farmer's supposed to be first. You have the farmer, you have the fisherman, you have all those things that you need to run a civilization. And I tell persons, do not separate God from civilization. The belief in God is what keeps a civilization stable across space and time. And if you mess around with that belief, the civilization will crumble. The civilization will crumble. And we need to understand that. A belief in God is not archetypical in your head. It's a very practical thing. So if I'm building a society and I have all those positions, those positions, so to speak, and we have human beings to fill in those positions. And somebody will be telling me, I don't feel like doing that. I don't feel that's something I should do. Like if people are driven based on their feelings and not based on duty and responsibility, do you think that that civilization would span across space and time? Do you think it's going to grow? So one of the things that I'm saying, a belief in God, like the Bible said, it's you have to almost put your feelings aside. You have to almost put what Lester wants. Because some of the vain things that's what Lester wants. Lester probably wants to sit on at home all day, do nothing. That's what the nature, the human mind is almost wired for comfort, almost wired for things of that sort. But you need an ideal, you need an aim to to make the sacrifice, to push those instinctual drives to do drugs and alcohol and multiple sex partners. You need something that would have you to move away from the nature of man and to span into something more holy, so to speak, something more pure, for you to move from that point, Egypt, for you to go to the place of peace, which is which is Jerusalem. And I'm saying this is what I find fascinating. I find that so fascinating that the agenda being pushed by the globalists, the agenda being pushed by the one world government, the WEF, it's an opposite agenda. If you are going to get rid of the ideal, if you are going to get rid of those things, what are you telling people? You are telling people, and people are now accepting that is what I feel. That's what that is not true. Truth, like Ben Shapiro says, facts don't care about your feelings. Truth don't care about your feelings. What you feel, feeling is so ephemeral. It's so short-lived. If you and that's why our society is made subjective based on the human emotion. What I feel moment to moment, that's what's true. So objectivity doesn't ground itself inside of the flesh. It grounds itself outside of it. And you have to succumb to that aspect. You have to succumb your humanness to something that is higher than it. Because if you live in the flesh, Lord knows what's going to happen.
Exactly that. Exactly that. And even then, a very blatant point you make is to say that you have to sort of submit yourself to that higher power. You have to submit yourself fully to the Creator God, the Almighty God, the one true God of the Holy Scriptures. Because without the Almighty, you don't know what your purpose is. You don't know what you're actually driving and attaining for. You don't know what you're living for. You're just here working and working and working. And that's exactly what this one world government, one world system wants to make. They want to make robots out of everybody. They want to make they want to make people who don't think, because thinkers break the walls that they build up. People who really sit down and analyze what they're doing mess up all the society that they're making. You see, thinkers like you and I, who sit down and say, hold on, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. You see what I'm saying? So it's like we have to continue to submit ourselves to this Almighty God, the God of the Holy Scriptures, because by doing this, we know exactly what we're striving for. As you said before, that holiness, that relationship with Him. And how do you do it? By His Son, Jesus Christ, the one we call Him. So the point being is that we merely have to just continue on the path that we're on, because by doing this, we're going to be sharp. We're gonna be thinkers who go against the status quo. But even by going against the status quo, it's gonna be like everybody around us is like these mindless drones and zombies feeling whatever they want to feel. You see what I'm saying? And then it's just gonna be us who actually know what we're doing. You know? So
Yeah, yeah.
it's quite remarkable. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to stop on this one question.
Mm.
After this one question, we're going to stop. I can imagine that you would have a lot going on for your day. So the world is moving into a one world religion. We know that. What does it mean? Moving into a one world religion. You touched on it earlier, but I want to go deeper into the idea of, because in order to have a one world government, right? If you want to build a global system, you need to have. You didn't even speak too much on the one world economy, the one world currency, right? You didn't even touch on that. That's very important. The one world currency. You need to have a one world religion, and you need to have the one world government and one world economic system. Those things. It's almost like you have a state government, and the state government have all those different components. In a global government, you must have the global moral standards. Where does the global moral standards come from? Who is the person that's in charge of the global moral standards? And what does that look like for us as humanity and for us as the people of the book, so to speak, especially the Holy Bible? What does that look like for us?
Something which springs to mind immediately, I believe it was Constantine the First, right? So with his empire, all the way back in the day, with his empire, what he saw is that there were different sects and fragments of people all over the place. And according to the saying, united we stand, divided we fall. What he then did is he saw the Jews over there, he saw the pagans over there, he saw the people who believed in the Messiah over here, he saw the atheists over there. And in an effort to unite his empire, what he did is he said to people, okay, everybody get together and simply agree on something. Agree on something, a religion, a belief system, whatever it may be, I don't care, but just agree on something. And that's where we get the Council of Nicaea and the Council of Laodicea from, likewise. And these religious leaders, they all came together in this one big council, and they said, okay, what do we believe? What are we going to hold on to? And I believe this was the inception of the Roman Catholic Church. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this was one of the main um,
One of the
accounts in
main.
case you.
Yes, one
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
main.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So the point being is that what happened in those councils, right? Something which sticks out to me greatly like a sore thumb, is that people compromised. They compromise their own belief systems for the sake of peace, for the sake of unity. But we're not called to do this. As a matter of fact, according to the word of the Almighty, we're called to be a set apart nation, a holy priesthood unto God. Now that's going to upset a lot of people, especially when we come and say, okay, homosexuality is sin, homosexuality is wrong. The homosexuals are going to get angry. They're not going to like us because we stick out and tell them the truth. When we go to the Hindus and say to them, Deuteronomy 6, verse 4, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. They're going to get angry because I believe they believe in all of their various gods.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So the point being is that in these councils, people compromised. What is the one religion? Compromisation. Everybody's gonna come together for the sake of unity and peace. And yes, we're a global citizen. I don't know if you know about that, but they've come with that agenda of being a global citizen, being somebody who's a citizen of just the globe itself, right? To say that, yeah, for peace sake, I'm gonna put down my beliefs which may upset another person, and we're gonna come together as one. Now you say, who's gonna be the head of that? Who's gonna be the leader? Um, of course, according to the scripture, we have the false prophet and we have the man of sin. Man of sin we call the Antichrist, right? Where are they gonna come from? There are various different organizations on the forefront and the back front, right? Back end, sorry. So we have on the back end these families. We have the Rothschilds. We have the House of Morgan. We have the Vanderbilts. Families which people even listening to my voice right now, they're probably saying, "Who are they?" And you do your research on them, right? But these are families who have most definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, and I'm going to say something brazen, have given their allegiance to the Satan. I'll give you an example. I'll tell you how I know why. When the Satan appeared to the Messiah, he appeared to the Messiah and said to him, "Okay, after tempting you all these times, if you bow down before me, I'm going to give you all the nations that you see on this high mountain here." But the Messiah said to him, that's not how the word of God goes. You shall serve the Lord your God and him alone. So if the Satan has the gall to go to our Messiah, our master, our rabbi, our advocate, and do that to him, you better believe he's done it to human beings as well. So the Satan has most definitely gone to human beings and said to them, hey, I'm going to give you the entire world. I'm going to give you industries. I'm going to give you money. I'm going to give you power and authority if you just give your allegiance to me. And they've gone and done it. These families going all the way back, right? We haven't even touched on as of yet. That's another topic. That's on the back end. On the front end, right, it will be organizations like the United Nations. I believe that came to being around 1945-ish, 1946, around those times. For what? World unity. Again, it sounds nice, but according to scripture, is it right? So I'd say these people are going to rise up from these people who, one, we don't know about, and two, who we can see, these big organizations like the World Economic Forum, the United Nations, these people who hold the true power and true influence. We've even got families going way back, like the royal family. We see how King Charles III is now on the throne. And I strongly believe the man of sin is being prepared even, all right, you see, even as we saw the funerals going on, right? I strongly believe the man of sin is being prepared and groomed, getting ready to be brought up, even in the midst of all of that, all of the sort of state funeral for Queen Elizabeth and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So yeah, it's right on the horizon, brother, right on the horizon.
And with that being said, and a lot of the analysis that I did myself and a lot of the looking at that's what I find that's very interesting to me, that we are almost worlds apart in the physically, but mentally, but spiritually. the amount of information, and I don't want to classify those things as truth or facts for persons to just close their mind and not think about it. What I am interested in is giving persons a specific way of thinking so that they could come to the truth by themselves. Because and one of the things that I hold to be true is that truth is not stumbled upon by mistake, so to speak. I believe that there is a mode of thinking that that you must apply to get to principles. And I look at principles as true. And one of the fundamental aspect of that mode of thinking is associational structure. That's how I think. And that's how I want to teach people how to think. I don't want to tell them what to do. I don't want to tell them what to believe. That's propaganda. I want to show them where to look, and I want them to see what is there. Because principles exist in all modes of life. Principles, if something is true biologically, it is true sociologically, it is true psychology in the psychological field, it is true on many levels of interpretation. So if you're going to think of something, if you're going to search, like you said, you have a desire for truth. And I believe if the desire for truth itself alone will have you to investigate more than one realm of knowledge or more than one realm of understanding. And that's what I hope that this discussion would bring towards our audience so that people can open their minds, people can open themselves up to truth. Try to find out really and truly what is going on. Because we are in the 21st century. And that's not a joke. To me, it's not a religious claim to say that something is going on and something it's written biblically that something is happening. Because the age that we're in, the postmodern age, the age of the age of information, the age where everything that you hold to, that everything that was proven to be true is not true anymore, because we can create our own truth. And that is something that's very challenging for individuals, for the family, for society, for us as well. So it was wonderful having this conversation with you. I think we can agree that we should have a discussion like that again. And I think between me and you, we should look forward to building an app